Yo, ready or not, here I come. I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna take you slowly. Akaimba ko kamanyi. Tokamanyi. Manyi kaliwa. Nekukabala.
Wantu nkukabala
Ne unankwasa yadde goli.
nze kyemanya akayimba kolina obba ng'oyimba kati kasinga singa gwe yali omusano
Nyimba kati.
kuba mmanyi ekikuli mu bwongo kati singa kati tutuuka singa kumpi akola bano ebigambo bya singa bingi nnyo right now.
Listen guys.
Yimba.
Yes, welcome to the fan bench for the fans by the fans. Tuli wano live again on a beautiful Friday evening. The weekend is upon us. Ndine bachampioni babiri. Ndinagezaako kuyingira top 4. Now they realize what Wenger did for Arsenal for 10 years. You saw the man celebrating a last minute winner. Ngoyinza gamba agenze ku Champions League final. Pep Guardiola, the legendary. Ne omufira mukama webale. Mukama webale omufira yakuleeta. Because I've never seen your manager do that for a top 4 position.
True. Naye ekyo mbadde manyi kirina batiisa butiisa because when he does something like that it means he's not going anywhere.
Let me tell you something.
Agenda ayagala kuba major drive ya Pep is you guys. He can't do this. He can't do that. Kati major drive ya agenda kujja abakakasa agambe nti now I can dominate the Premier League for the next 7 years.
Let me tell you something.
Nekati yawonye heartbreak.
By the way mukyala waffe yakomyewo ladies and gentlemen era tactics kati ziyingira. Mwawedde dda.
Yeah, in a formula. Eh?
Alabika.
Chances are high by the way. Now yeah. Hussein is in the building, Liverpool fan. Mercy oba Sophie simanyi oba both. Liverpool fan and myself, Arsenal, the Gunners. Waliwo ajidde mu t-shirt ka PSG. Aba Arsenal bakuyinako obusungu.
Bino mbikolera bo.
Obonyabonya.
Mbabonyabonya. Kati gwe singa netugeza netubakuba.
Mwebani.
Singa faba PSG. Kati ndi Mufaransa mukama wange.
Bonjour, bonsoir.
Bonjour, comment ça va?
Ça va bien. So on this weekend we have the FA Cup, where I think he's the only one on this table that can speak. But I think it's a mid-table competition as we speak. Right now it is because I mean it's Nottingham Forest, Man City, who else? Crystal Palace and Aston Villa. That's mid-table. So we are not going to discuss you so much because we are talking about Champions League semi-finalist and Premier League winner.
Can I remind you of something?
Please.
The biggest thing that keeps Arsenal relevant in any conversation is FA.
So it's not the brown one, the golden one, sorry.
BVG.
Tojimanye, you're unbeaten. The one that none of you has here.
14 draws.
12 draws. 12 draws. 12 draws. I have 13 draws this year.
How many points? Points does he make? 8 or something.
8 or something. Which is what you're going to score yourself. Togenda yingira chenda.
So yingira chenda.
Togenda.
Abasigadde bonna mbasobola by the way. Nadala Arsenal.
Ngomaso wangu lechikopo solo kuba
ate Arsenal gwensinga ddala okwagala saa zino.
tosobola kuba
Actually,
it's on record now.
ekyende tukyagaza ki?
Kiko kyoyagala.
Kitegeera. Tubadde n'ekyende twafunako ne 99. Ekikopo ne kigaana.
By the way, to rub it in their faces, like we don't even need to beat Tottenham. Just twetaaga amaliri. Games ezisigadde zonna tukola amaliri and we don't make 90 points. Tubalage nti ki like
temwagala manyi.
Tetwagala like it's something simple. We could have done it but we chose not.
Ninze kagade of honor keninze ate tagenda kaddamu. Soka nakatuwa wali mu COVID nga bantu tebamungi. Okimanyi yakatuwa ne gundi nga tuli mu gundi nga akyali player. Kiwedde.
Mbadde mbuuza ssebo kuba kati ffe balabe wano weka abaliwo. Kagade of honor ne ku fan bench tukabaweyo oba tubagambe bagalye.
Twana kibagambe nakati.
Ogwo mutima gwa Bernardo, ogwo mutima gwa Bernardo.
Beranga Bernardo nze ne mwazi mu high class club.
What do you mean your class club?
We're very classy.
Man, you guys.
You can't win a trophy and then
by the way, I have very many screenshots. of Ykee's tweets nga ninze wali ku gondi mpira gwa Arsenal nga watu wachi then I first release all nina mungi
what are collecting but yeah, on a real this is speaking for myself, not other Arsenal fans and what they think. For me, I want to give, genuine credit and congratulations message to the Liverpool fans out there and those that are on the show, on the fan bench. Very weird season generally when you look at it. Man City too many injuries, Arsenal too many injuries. So there was no competition for a mutual. For a mutual. For a mutual. I'm talking Chelsea quite the movie, no? I'm talking Spurs, abalabo mupira, or Man U for that matter. Last season, Arsenal, Liverpool towards the end, Arsenal Negana Man City. Previous season, Arsenal Man City. Previous season, Arsenal Liverpool to the line. You understand? And so for the mutuals, there's no denying that Tebanyu Midwanyu in the last 2 months of the season. But there's no way we sit here and say Liverpool did not, do the best to be where they are. I mean, they have lost only 2 games the entire campaign. And that's not easy, considering Newcastle Murunji, Brighton Murunji. I'm talking those mid teams that can beat any.
Actually, Olawe, Man City's quality dropped. Nenga the rest of the teams, like most of the teams,
went up.
The quality zambuka
Bournemouth stepped up. Fulham
Nottingham, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Fulham.
Yep. So we are into the final stages of the Premier League. Arsenal yalemeddwa okujjawo kawini ku Crystal Palace. Ne banzijjako ne sente zange in the process.
What is weight?
What is weight?
You're welcome.
Listen, there's no club.
Crystal Palace, yeah.
There's no club in the Premier League that is hated.
Man, like ekintu Crystal Palace kyeyakoze, like atugamba nti we are welcome for what? I haven't yet forgiven them. They have to be relegated for me to forgive them.
Last season.
No, yeah, that's 3-3. 2014, yes, that's 3-3.
Even last season, you know that they were the beginning of our downfall.
Rogers.
Yes, Rogers. I can never forgive them. Walabakati, even if they hadn't made that draw, we only needed 1 win. Kati mbo
Nebagezezaako okukola correction.
Njabasonyiwanga they're relegated.
Ne Hussein obadde okimanyi nti London teams bagenda tuwa gundi bagenda tuwa God of Honor bebasinga
we're lined up.
Bonna
all lined up.
kati who is the king of London?
The king of London is the one that will not get. It is the one that is in the semi-final.
Liverpool.
I mean,
the kings of London.
How are you the king of London
when
the team?
Okay, let me no.
You
see, Malaba, do you know why we call Wembley Gondi? We call Wembley Anfield South. Kurokubanga. Okay, like Newcastle, but could be recently. Nenga like in the past 5 years. It has always been like our second home. We were together. Tujamu wins ate ne and the London teams watandikira na kuzi Chelsea bani like tugenda and we own them in their own yard.
What do you mean own them? You've not won a game at the Emirates in the Premier League for 3 years now.
What do you mean?
3 years. You to be a king.
We have
to give you a guard of honor in Anfield. If I was giving a guard of honor in the Emirates, then I would gladly tell you the king.
Ykee. We cannot change the formula of the fixtures. Kurokubanga this season nga we bategeka so we cannot change the tugamba kurokubanga kati.
You had a fixture, say.
Yes, we already had a fixture
at the Emirates and you did not win it. The same goes for the other previous season. So now you're getting an
actually this season we won at the Emirates. Though
it was FA. It was FA.
Actually went there.
Did you go to win the trophy?
It was actually
it doesn't matter. Now it matters.
Exactly. Echo chembadde ngenda okugamba era mbadde ngenda kugamba nti like your only source of happiness obutakukuba ku Emirates. That's like
even Anfield you've not beaten.
Exactly. No, that's your source. 3 years. That's your source of happiness.
Do you know make 3 in 2 weeks?
Ykee, do you know mine? Do you know my source of happiness?
What's your source of happiness?
Premier League trophy.
PSG probably.
Premier League trophy.
PSG okaira vidde.
Premier League.
Wajanga Wigan. But anyway, I feel we have to talk about the play of the season. The manager of the season. I have a different view than most here, but I want to start with Mulabe Wangono one. Who is your player of the season, Mr. Jared?
Mohamed Salah. Start there, you'll get it. Mohamed Salah.
Manager of the season. I disagree there, but yeah, Mercy, player of the season. Easy, eh?
Yeah, very easy. Mohammed, like I can't wait for that trophy where he has the trophy, he has the playmaker award, and he has the golden boot. I mean, and he has the player of
Of the year.
player of the year.
He's gonna
Those
win
are
the
things that
award,
people cannot what
Take
people
out from
and people cannot. Those are bragging rights that he can't be compared. Like there are certain debates that he's going to actually leave because he has earned all those things. Then my manager of the season actually is not Anslot. Anslot has been good, but Nuno, Nottingham Forest.
I am more bent on this
This is
decision.
this is the guy who he phoned them down, and they were not playing good football. And right now, that's a team that you actually have to prepare for. Like when you're going to play them, and you'll be like, I'm going to actually play what Nottingham Forest. So I need to prepare. I need to sit down and respect them a bit. So that is my
actually Nange, like manager of the season. Right now, it's not yet Onslaught, but it's between two two people. Naika tija kusinzira like how far they go.
Stay in the Champions League places.
Howe, if they do what, if they make it to Champions League, then I would actually give it to him.
Yeah, that's
because
that's
about what they Klopp after
Next
60
that's a
years,
good one.
and he has taken them back to the
Don't
Champions
forget
League.
Nottingham is also close to giving them
Exactly,
trophy.
yes. Antikade, Chintu cha Nottingham, their form has dropped a little. But even if they make it into the Champions League spot, and then they still drop out of the FA Cup, and then Eddie Howe makes it in the Champions League as well. But Manchua Eddie.
Personally, going to the semi-final of the
Eddie's.
FA Cup, we need to be honest, guys. Newcastle is a better team than Nottingham Forest, player for player.
true.
You understand? But Nottingham, if they make the Champions League places, they have not been out of those places a bit, by the way. Do you know?
True.
For-
They've been so consistent.
Yes, they've been around. Worst it has been fourth. You understand? Until of recent, where they have a game in hand. Man City played, they have not yet played. So for me, Nuno stands out for me as the manager of the year. The player, I think, is an easy pick. Salah has done amazing. What a season, man! What a season!
He has practically dragged us to the
Yes.
trophy.
Honestly, Salah has been amazing. And what makes me really happy is from my continent. To have one of the biggest leagues being represented by an African player, and I am very proud. I'm very proud. Banter aside.
Another reason why I would actually want Gondi Baka to drop out of the Champions League.
Our Ballon d'Or is assured.
Yes, like
talking
there
about
it actually comes back. Because before Madrid dropped out, the like talks about Mbappe had started cropping up. Gondi, wachimanyi nti if Baka drops out of the Champions League, then they only take their league. That means Aba Gondi, that guy, what's his name? The Brazilian guy. Yes,
Rafinha.
yes, Bavenkanya, like with the trophies with Salah.
in terms of trophies.
Yes, but the records that Salah has broken this season,
Push him higher.
chiba chimufulo wenjawulo.
None of those two clubs is in the Club World Cup.
No.
Because it might have an impact.
None.
But
Does it?
I saw a report they want to invite Baka. It's in the
You can
talks.
imagine the
They
politics
want
of
to
the game.
invite.
Why aren't they inviting Liverpool?
They want to invite
You
Baka
understand?
because
For me, that's a part of the
their
game I
form
hate.
right now, and of course the market.
It's PR for the competition.
They really wanted to invite them.
Ballon d'Or, I don't know. Personally, the quality of football in the Premier League is still low. That's why we struggle with those trophies,
True.
individual trophies. And then Liverpool has dropped out of the Champions League. Rafinha has more chances of getting more goals in Europe now over
He's
Salah.
already-
He already has more.
Why 11
I think
goals?
he's actually the top scorer in
No.
12.
Guaresti took over.
Who? Guaresti,
Yeah,
Yes.
he took over. I think he's
When
at
he scored the
13.
hat-trick,
Yeah, he's at 13.
So for me, that's where my concern is.
Rafinha had
But
12.
talking about the season, no. Salah is a better player than Rafinha in my books. Watch Tegeda.
Consistent.
Yes, and very consistent. But the fact that Barca is in the semi-final, Rafinha could get a goal next week. You understand?
Yeah.
ne bw'aba avuddemu nga Inter Milan yeeyiseewo
ng'avudde ku
era ye
semi-finals.
aba agamba naviirako ku semi-final waviirako ku quarter. No, last 16. Okitegeera, that's an
Doesn't make
age.
sense.
And the way you moved out of the competition was embarrassing for the brand Salah. Okitegeera. So those factors will come in. But coming back down to the Premier League, omusajja abadde atutte ku Ballon d'Or. For me, I have not settled my manager. For me, top 3 managers is Nuno, but Arteta comes second. And I want to give my reasons.
Okay.
Mundabye leero
We're
sizze na
just
banter.
waiting.
Leero nze ne respect njagala nange mumpe chance nnyonnyole ebintu byange. The teams that have been affected by injuries the most is Arsenal and Man City. It's on record. It's not an opinion. It's factual. Other teams have had injuries, yes, but the ones that have had the most,
Man United.
Arsenal comes number 1. Yes. Like
Man United.
omanyi okulwaza kubaawo naye olwaziza ani and for how long?
Man United.
Okitegeera. No, top 2 is actually Arsenal is number 1 if you go and do your research.
Even,
number 2,
even Man United.
yes, they have had their own as well. Number 2 was Man City. Until of recent, Arsenal has not left the top 2 for the last 6 months, I think, or 7. I think the last time Nottingham yatuliko Mars at some point.
It was on a game day.
Yeah, because of just one game or something. But guys, when you talk about it from that angle, ono bamwadde million 2. Now celebrating Ambu. One is having a good season. Now they're putting us in teams having a good season. We have had our season since we started competing for the trophy. But to be in the top 2, albeit 13 points behind, or 10, or 9 at some point, bro, the man found a way. Think about the fact that Merino was a midfielder and you turned him into a striker. Think about the fact that Messi used to play as a winger. Then one morning, Pep Guardiola said, what? I want you as a false 9. I don't know, you guys have read that story. Amazing story.
That's how he started.
And then the same goes for Arsene Wenger, Thierry Henry winger. And then one day he said, you're going to be the first number 9 who plays all along that line. You understand? And that's when football was reinvented. Today, we have a number 8, playing as our number 9. And he has done amazing. He has more goals than some strikers in the same league. You understand? So for me, those factors stand out. And for the haters, it's going to be a very fickle conversation. But there's some logic there, honestly. For me,
I have something to raise on that.
Yeah.
Whatever, maybe the Arsenal fans won't be so pleased with this. The team that actually suffered with injuries, Jenso Kugambanti, no excuses for them. It was Man City. Manilwache, there was a time that these guys, almost all their centre backs, were out. Injured. Yeah. Ne watunira Arsenal, the first injury that they suffered, like Gambia, like to keep players. The first one that they suffered, it was Odegaard. Abasigade, they were French players. They weren't like in the first team, no, like how
they
you
just
say
players.
Yes, they were like French players. Odegaard came back. After that, omulala nadamu nalwala Saka. It's like if maybe these injuries were happening, maybe bonane balwala at once. Maybe then you lose like 4 teams. Like 4 players.
Hussein.
Yeah.
Just a minute, producer.
Yeah. So like Saka yada mokulwala. The time that you guys have actually suffered injuries, it's Ebada Mujan when Saka was out, and then Havertz Nainalwala, and then Gabriel Jesus Watchtaylor. Then right now you guys still have what? You guys still have 4 forwards. Abali Watchtaylor.
4 forwards.
Yeah.
When you had 4 forwards when Jota was out for a while, you saw the results.
It was not only. It was not ours.
It was about
this
2.
season. This season.
There was a time when the 2 players were out. I think Nunes and Jota or something. No, what's that guy from Netherlands? Gakpo and Jota.
And he had picked up form. That was the problem.
He was playing amazing football and you lost him. But I want to backtrack you. Odegaard was out for 2 months and a half. Before that, Merino. Meaning I was depending on Pate and Rice every week while there was Champions League football. Merino was out for 2 months with a broken shoulder or something. Meanwhile, in training. So, Merino omulabi chakola midfield now, meaning he could have been very valuable at the start of the season. That's when we started losing gaps on points. Odegaard out for 3 months, 2.5, Right Odegaard ngaya akadda. Saka goes out. We have not spoken about Ben White, who has not been in the team for almost the entire year. But that means Timber resting.
Yeah.
These things matter. Timber bwawummula oba osobola, you keep the team fresh. Then you go up to Saka comes in. Jesus yava oddi. You think December. No, December. January. Now, this is where Arsenal picks up form as of last season. I'm using that analysis. We went to Dubai, Havertz yafiirayo.
Yeah.
Okitegeera, this is when we lost him.
Like him. Just before that, you had a window. Actually, it's reported by David that Ateta refused to bring in bodies. So Yagana, okitegeera?
No.
Like,
It's one thing. Those are rumors.
No, David,
There's no player.
There's someone who at least we can trust. That's why I'm like,
David
yes,
Einstein,
he
yeah.
came out and he said Ateta refused to bring out players. So if you've refused to bring out players, what do you expect?
Let me tell you.
I don't want more bodies. What is that?
Let me tell you something. Let me
That's why
explain
we're
it.
not even.
I think David is a valid point to use because he is solid. So I don't dispute the point. But I want to speak for Ateta in the sense that bw'oba oyagala omusambi, if you buy in January, obirabye kuba n'abagagga.
Yeah.
You buy in January, you reach in the summer, that money is gone. You're going to miss out on the actual player you wanted because there's no money for that player. Now, it's one thing for Ateta to say, Chikopo kanchite. Next season is another opportunity because I know next season I might have more money to use. But guys, going back to the real issue here is that you said I have four, what are they say? Forwards.
Yeah.
Losing Gabriel Jesus means Havertz has no substitute.
Yeah.
And then the very person who has no substitute goes out. The only thing that has been sustaining Arsenal for the last 4 months is our defense and our midfield. And then the midfield itself. Bro, temumanyi kyetubadde
Ykee, let me tell you something. Ykee.
I wanted to explain this to Hussein. When we're in January, when we hit January, how many points were you above us?
We
About
were
5.
9.
No, it was 7.
It was
January.
Yes.
It was 7.
It was 9. We've never
Sali
dropped to
Mwenda.
7.
You have dropped to 7. You dropped to 7.
The time that we actually dropped, remember the time that we actually dropped,
We had I think,
Zabadao were
games
going
in
to
hand.
number us to Newcastle. The time that we dropped, it was that time when we had the Merseyside derby, and then Newcastle, and we had I think we had 2 games in hand.
We had games in
Yeah, there was a time we had 2 games in hand.
But we have never.
And then
dropped to that.
Netsoka net drawing with Aston Villa.
It was 7 points with a game in.
Yeah.
Not a game.
It was
to-
1.
It
was one.
It was 1.
Yeah, the Everton
But
game.
And it was
the whole December,
Everton.
it was 9 points.
So it has not.
So
really-
anyway, for me the points are not the issue, because points Liverpool etuse nezisuula. Imagine me with my players, I would have caught up on some of those points. But otudde Saka taliwo, you're playing with a 17-year-old against Salah, against all the other teams that have their players, Balibas, Newcastle and all that. So, but from that point of view, bro, the truth is, on factual things, no team has had injuries like Arsenal. And luck is part of why
This
some
is
teams
really-
win. Yes. Because Man City, abadde ne luck for the last 4 years, nga talwaza. Rodi yabadde talwalangako.
Nemugenda ne mumusamba, eh? Mwagenda-
No,
Mwagenda-
okay, like the injuries have been there. Nenga ekintu ekisinze okulabika after those injuries, it has been lack of quality.
Sina quality.
These guys didn't suffer. Now Benjamin White has been out the entire season, but we haven't talked about him. Omanyi lwaki?
Exactly.
Because of
Adina
quality, there is
substitute
cover.
Bunge.
The left back
forward
position.
line is what you mean, maybe.
Yes, quality in the forward positions. The left back position, Gundi Tomiyasu has been injured the whole season.
But to-
Calafiori,
talks
like,
about
but no one is talking about it because
we
what?
had someone to-
Skelly
Katula, eh? Still on
Skelly
that
has
point,
stepped
eh?
up.
Hussein, still on
It's
that
quality,
point,
yeah.
you would have signed a stopgap. That's why
True.
very many
Or maybe
clubs
you would have
do
got someone on
stopgaps.
loan.
Watch the-
Let me tell you guys.
No take
For
out,
me,
no
we are
gamba.
not these people here. These people
Now-
have too much money. Right now, what's that car defender that is not playing anymore?
Bamita Kusanov.
That man might even leave in December. They can afford to do that. You understand? 40 million. How much was he?
I think 40 or 30.
You understand? We can't afford to bring in a 40 million player, and then you're sending him in January away.
There was a time we suffered with lots of
No.
injuries in the central defense areas. And then we went and we got someone on loan, Ben Davis. No, we bought Ben Davis. And then we went and we got some other guy from Germany on loan.
Where did you
Just-
finish that time?
We
Top
finished in the
third.
top
I
4.
think
You were third.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
were
we
third.
finished
You
in the
were
top
third.
4.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Now
we
you understand my
we
point.
just brought them
You
in for
understand my
cover.
point? Last year, Liverpool got some injuries. They were.
Oh my God.
We had lots of injuries.
At the same time, please
You
don't use
can't
that.
compare to what we have had at Man City.
No. Actually, last season.
It was more.
Last season injuries that were
February, around early February.
Folabo n'akomawo linaalwala. Ono n'akomawo linaalwala.
What we have had Arsenal and Man City is the worst on record, probably in the last 10 years or 15.
Wale watu
No team has had that. But
bana.
Man City, or rather Liverpool, last year, bafunamu ku injuries. They were leading, they were actually on top at some point. And then that an Emirates game, I think one player was missing. I think Robertson or something.
No,
we actually had 13 players out.
No. On
At
the
the same
first
time.
11. On the first
on
11.
the first 11, we didn't have Trent for that game. The game you're talking about. We didn't have Trent. We didn't have Salah. We didn't have. I think Konate was also not there.
So no, Konate played that game because
didn't have
Jukira
Jota.
card Jebamuanga.
We didn't have Jota. We had lost him.
Nunes came back from injury on that exact game.
I think we didn't have like 6 players.
We didn't have like 6 or 7 players.
Your midfield was fine though.
Starters. We didn't have.
Midfield was fine. Your defense lacked one player. Your striking lacked one special player, which is Salah.
It was not
Now,
special.
Was Robertson?
But you understand my point. Now I'm
No,
getting to my
actually,
point.
it was Smikas who
Mercy.
played that game.
Yeah,
Kati-
Robertson.
kati otegedde point yange no ye
But they were all at the same time.
At the same time.
anti point
But you know
yange.
the
My point is this: the fact that you didn't have the players we've just found out you didn't have in that game is why I caught up with you. Ochitegera. Now imagine, because the next 2 weeks Salah came back because he was from Africa or
No,
something.
he didn't come
No,
actually.
he
He
came
came back
back.
injured. Yakumonga.
But my
he's
point is,
injured.
about 2 weeks, Salah did not take a month out.
It took a
Ochitegera.
month.
my
It took
God.
like 2.
Now
We'll-
Saka took 3.
No, we lost him for the whole of
No,
January.
Like Olava.
I want to understand why you need
Listen,
to give Arteta
we
credit.
lost him for the whole of January because he was going for AFCON and what?
And
That
then
one we had
Africa
already
Cup of
prepared.
Nations.
Yes. He came back injured.
He
Actually,
didn't lose him for the whole of January because he didn't play African Cup. He got injured in the African Cup.
yes. But he was already injured, meaning we didn't play him at all in January,
Kyengeza
right?
kugamba kikino. Injury ye yatandikira mu African Cup nga talina gye yalaze nnyo era n'akomawo. I remember that story very well.
Yes.
Kati bw'akomawo, just a minute. Bw'akomawo, he recovers about 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
It was a month.
Bottom
It was
bottom
a
line,
month.
it was a
He
month.
was
Yes.
away for the whole of
From
February.
Jan-
Tanzania.
Yeah.
From
Yeah,
Jan,
March. I think
but
after
my
it
point,
was
my
done.
point, Mercy, is Liverpool is leading the trophy with 5 points. They come to the Emirates missing some superstars, right?
Actually,
I lose, I win the game. So meaning 2
It was
points.
7. We reduced.
No, it was 5. I was about to go to 8.
5. Yeah.
I remember that
Season.
game very well. So, bottom line is this. Nze mbadde bwentyo since December. Oba kitegeera.
Should I-
All the way
should
to
I-
March
should I-
when
should I-
Saka comes
Naye
back.
kati olaba, kati
Should I give you a start?
Why I'm smiling like this
Yeah.
is because it's unfair with the way people put Arsenal in a position of we cannot suffer injuries and
And they are credited.
hate us,
Mm.
but there's
When I switch the conversation to them, but we didn't have this.
No, eh?
That's a good
Listen.
one.
No, like our point was like the injuries, the
Yeah,
more
you
suffering there.
can't say anything because I mean, you're going
The injuries, the more suffering there. Like to all your key players, they didn't all come at once. So it's taken.
No.
Which is
There are
different.
those that came at
Anyway,
once.
natural like
Saka, Gabriel Jesus, Havertz came in a gap of weeks.
so
Banana.
Like every week,
No,
what
How many games did we have in
Let me
January?
say something.
and long-term injuries.
How many games did we have in January?
how many?
Let me say something. Kati ffe ng'abagagga abali mu katundu.
Badoyingidde ekibuuzo ky'abaavu.
Nkugamba, muli kwogera ng'abaavu. Kyembadde njagala okugezaako bagamba. Injuries
part of the
should never be an excuse of not winning.
But
Katuddeyo emabega. Remember the
First
season.
Squad
Remember the
planning.
season 18-19. That is a famous season. Buli omu alina obba ng'agimanyi.
Yeah.
You remember that meme ng'omukazi atambula ebbina lidda waggulu nga we lidda wansi, Liverpool, Manchester City. Are you aware that during that season we didn't have a full back? Gundi ani ono yali mulwadde, Kevin De Bruyne yali injured. Nga we had Ykee Gundogan nkimanyi, no one rates him. Do you rate him?
Who does
Rate
rate him?
him?
You guys,
He was playing his best football.
Allow Gerard, eh?
but when you drop,
Injuries don't
Let me-
matter. Why aren't you competing?
no,
for
let
the
me tell you
league this
something.
year?
The good
Nice
man
one.
ngabadde shitty.
Gerard,
That's the fact.
Yeah, I
Injuries
know.
matter, bro.
Let me tell you something.
Matter.
Let me tell you something.
Injuries matter.
First, allow me to tell you something. We're dropping. Okay, you said you rate Ykee Gundogan. When you drop from KDB to Ykee Gundogan, waliwo gap y'amaanyi.
No.
Ykee Gundogan were 18-19.
That was the best player.
Yes.
That was the best player.
Are you telling me that they're on the same level?
They play in different roles.
And they
Change
they
okugamba, but the
Gerard,
other one was a
same
Gerard,
person.
Don't the other one
Gerard,
substitute.
Gerard.
Those are two
Do you
key
know-
players
do you
that
know-
play
And
together.
I'm telling you that when the other one was injured, Gochogeda, they do not play the same football, but that one stepped up.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be an excuse. I saw my manager playing a centre
So
back
Gerard,
as a full
Gerard,
back
do you know
against Liverpool.
do you know why I talked about your injuries this season? Because you suffered all your injuries in the same position. But Gwenga Man City, like we can't put you to our levels. Do you know why? You have the you have
Financial
the ability okutuza Bundoganwa 18-19 on the bench. Not to Bernardo Silva, not to Mahrez. Man,
Nobody can afford that.
no one else can afford that. No one else can afford that.
In January, you spent 200 million. Yeah.
By the way, let me tell you something. Let me surprise you. None of those guys start. Are you aware of that? I did, but none of them
But
start.
you spent it. It's about spending.
but
Arsenal didn't spend anything because they're preserving but
That money.
the
Yes,
exact
yes,
person
uh-huh.
they want.
Let me tell you
For us
something.
to catch a Man City squad, we require 3 summers. You understand? For them, they do it in 1 summer.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. What we're considering, yes, we are rich. But do you know why we are allowed to do that? The financial fair play to quad.
115 charges to Zela Bira.
My brother.
Azerabidde.
Labayo. The financial name, I don't know. I think we need a lecture about the 115 grand charges. First of all, those things end in 2018. Second of all, okugula abazanyi, it is the financial fair play. I don't know one.
So the end in 2018, right? Now let me tell you something. Since the end in 2018, when did Guardiola come into management? Guardiola we mwagenda okuyingira 2018-2019 season, that's when we competed with you. Before that, you guys had a squad yaweza 100 points. Guardiola had already built the team. Guardiola had already built the team. That's why SAWAS, you can do what? You can do small businesses. Guardiola had already spent all that money.
If you want to understand,
the big
what
problem
Man City is in terms of gap between us and them, wait for the summer. You'll get the point.
No, you don't want to wait for the summer. January, this guy spent 200 M.
Our summer budget.
Do you know the next person who bought in who bought in players? Yali Aston Villa on loan. Aston Villa yaletamu abasambi bana on loan. This guy bought 4 players.
My brothers.
4 players.
Anyway,
there's something I'm trying to explain to you something, but you're not allowing me to finish.
Okay, finish.
please take your time.
Do you know the reason why Manchester City is able to do that? Ngati waliwo financial fair play rules. Because they have won trophies in the past.
So they have money.
Yeah, they have the money to spend. They
Mm.
have them in the books. They have the money to spend. Do that.
But
Gerard,
even
Gerard,
without
you've come close.
But even without
Gerard,
trophies,
Gerard.
you've always had the money.
Ekyo kituufu. Naye jjukira ezo sente tezikirizibwa kuspendingibwa.
And on top of that, we have referees going to their.
Let's not go there because that conversation will never end.
You were finishing up with your
It was the manager's issue. So, point yange wano, there's no disputing the fact that injuries can affect any team,
Yeah,
especially
they affect
how
teams.
big the player or how important it is to the team.
And the amount of them.
Yeah, and the amount of them. So for me, I was arguing with the Liverpool fans, I think last night or the other night, and I was telling them, imagine me with my team. Does it mean I catch you? No, may not mean that, but I'm close. I would have been closer.
Yeah,
I would have won
been
yesterday's
closer.
game or something. You understand? So injuries really have a great impact on. But luck is also part of the game. So to the Arsenal fans, our luck has not been good, and it happens. Liverpool fans have had their luck on their side. That's also good. You look at Man City, it has been too much. Injuries, bad luck, bad tactics. The guy got so many games wrong. I actually agree to that. Pep has been weird. I think it's the marriage and everything. But next season is there. We are coming. So Nunes, I think will recover Nuno. Yeah, I'm between Nuno's and Arteta, but Nuno stands out if he goes to the final of the FA Cup. You said who?
By the way, you didn't give me the chance to back up my Angie Slot.
And Slot.
We've seen Liverpool before, like the season before.
Yeah.
Nagisanga ngebadde bwete eringa eri broken. Nagireeta. He changed a few things. najileta ne wangula Premier League.
No one,
That's a big
no,
thing.
no one actually
That's a
gave
very
him a
big thing.
chance. No one actually gave him a chance.
That's
Abamu
a-
batugamba,
Even us, the supporters, we just
Batugamba
talk
by
for-
December he would be sacked.
Okitegeera.
Listen,
But
guys,
the
And
manager,
he didn't even bring in players. Omuntu gwe yaleeta
timu eyo
tana
had a discussion
making
sometime.
5 appearances in the Premier
Had a
League.
discussion
But
on
those were the team that was supposed to
Cheza.
be already challenging for a title. So
yeah, we have to be honest on the fact that
he has
yasanga
done,
ebikolebwa
yes,
bingi.
Yeah.
Yasanga
but he already
ebikolebwa
found some
bingi.
ground that was already.
Even looking at Pep himself, Pep goes to Man City. Who had left? Was it Pellegrini?
Pellegrini.
Ngazimbye squad eri solid. Fernandinho mujukiro yo nga yocha.
Yeah.
Pep comes and buys a few players here and there to make the team better. And he wins the trophies. And then, of course, his talent showed off after that. He has been a very good manager, and he's a good manager. Now, Slot, for me, I disagree with you for one point. Yasanga team nga ebadde solwangula ekikopo last year.
It
was already charging for the trophy. Kati nagisanga nga yafiiriddwa teyawangudde. That's motivation. Okitegeera. They wanted Klopp to leave with the title last year, and then it went south with injuries and everything. Now Slot comes in, finds a very solid team. For me, I want to understand who Slot is starting this season, the new one.
Actually, this is
On that
his
point,
This is his
on that very point,
Okay, Nick is going to give him.
on that very point, you said Pep Guardiola yasanga a well-organized team. I remember Negundi yakyogerako nti na listing ya Otamendi, Aguero, they are all investments from the past.
Yeah.
Do you know yamalira mu kyakumeka that season?
Yamalira mu kyakusatu, I think, oba kyakuna.
Yes. Do you know one record about that season? It is the only season Pep Guardiola gyatawangulako kikopo kyonna. So I think we need to give this guy credit. That was Pep Guardiola asanze organized institution. The fact is, means okwogera nti financial, but Manchester City must be one of the most organized teams. Yagisanga ngeri very organized nga bali bamutegeka years before. Najja nagisanga nalaba nga tuli kulwanirira top 4.
Olaba,
actually another to back him up, it's not like Ancelotti yavamu PSG or Barcelona.
He was a nobody
He was a
personally, I didn't know about Ancelotti until May last season.
When you look at his record, very many people actually know, but he's an Edward kind of person.
Yeah.
When you look at his record, his very first managerial role was actually at AZ.
Yeah.
Yeah, AZ, and he almost took them to the title. Unfortunately, their season was cancelled. Yes, during COVID. And then in his second season with Feyenoord, he wins the title. You get? And then he moves. Watch together. So he has actually had a
He has
very
been progressive.
and he did well. There's no disputing he has done well, by the way. It's just that some managers have done better than him.
Yes,
That's all the
true.
point.
Underrated players, please.
Underrated.
That is very important.
Let me finish this. Bogamba nti some managers have done better than him. Remember, we are basing on maybe nga nachifunye bubi. Are we talking about Premier League manager of the year?
Okay, like we're talking about
if you're managing in the league and whatever
you're managing
you've
in
done.
the league, the FA and the
You're
Carabao.
managing
That's why
all
it counts.
competitions.
Just imagine Arsenal.
No, you don't include Europe. You don't include Europe in this.
Why?
We're talking about the FA. Like Football Association, yes, in
I will stick
England.
to him.